Our speaker for today is Biju Chirayat. She's a BFA and MFA, that is Master in Fine Arts from the College of Fine Arts, Karnataka Chitrakala Parishad. An artist, she has had solo exhibitions and has participated in several group shows. Several of her paintings are with hotels, corporates, and in private collections. A designer with 28 years of work experience, she has worked for companies like Titan Industries, Hallmark Greeting Cards, Kirloskar Oil Engines, and VBL Innovations Private Limited. A faculty member, she has taught art and design at the graduate level at Wigan and Leigh, Mahavir Jain, and the Taksha of Itina Studios. Currently, she conducts art workshops and creative workshops for schools, corporates, and NGOs. Social responsibility and art. She likes to use her creativity in social causes and to raise awareness. She is managing the aesthetics and gardening of local parks, beautification of common spaces, is an elected member of Ward 59 committee member in Bangalore. Art therapist, trained as a family counselor from CPC, the Center for Psychology and Counseling Didigul. She's also trained in art therapy as a member of the Council of Psychotherapy and Counseling. I'm happy to welcome the speaker for today, Ms. Biju Chirayat. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful introduction. You practically like had my entire life out there. And yeah, I can't imagine I've done all of this. I'd like to introduce the part of my life which doesn't come across in all the, the academics and the work experience. So I was an artist by default. Art was never even understood. We have no artists in our family. We have doctors, we have engineers, we have lawyers, we have teachers, we have lots of teachers. So, teachers always know what they have to say and what others have to say and do also. So here I was born an artist and my parents had no clue what to do with me. Luckily, I actually was graced with very good teachers, starting from my school. In fact, my teacher is now 96 years old and still my good friend. She showed me that, art actually could be seen as a profession when I was in my 8th standard. And I think that's when I decided I wanted to do something with art. But then from there, it was a complete uphill because one parent wanted me to be an engineer. The other parent wanted me to be a chartered accountant. So coming to where I am today was never easy. Even today, I think I have decided I want to use art more as a tool to bring about awareness. Now, that is also unheard of. So, this challenge, I don't know where it started, but I have to say, I somewhere have been influenced and very much grateful to some of my gurus, and one of them is Rabindranath Tagore. Actually, there is a play that's called The Poet and the Prophet. I don't know if any of you all have seen this play. I saw it at NGMA. And it's a play where they talk about Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Their letters are read out actually. They were very good friends. And Rabindranath Tagore says, he tells Gandhiji, they're very good friends. They agree on everything. But Mahatma Gandhi always thought that Rabindranath Tagore was one of those arty, head in the cloud types. And Rabindranath Tagore had a lot of regard for Mahatma Gandhi. And in fact, he has helped him when he started Vidya Bharati. He actually contributed some 60,000 rupees towards starting Shanti Niketan. But there was never this understanding what Rabindranath Tagore wanted to do. And in one of his letters, he tells Mahatma Gandhi, he says, see, you are going to find or get the independence for our country. You are the father of the nation and you can get people to do whatever you want. But after that, what? Who is going to lead this country? Where are we going to find visionaries who will think for the future of this country? And Rabindranath Tagore is my guru. And surprisingly, I have met many people who also have written plays about him. Like I saw this play, The Poet and the Prophet. I felt that art is not just about making beauty. Yes, it is intrinsically about finding beauty where there is nothing and beautifying, but also it's about thinking. It's about elevating our thinking process to a place where we can visualize, where we can look into the future or into the past and learn and evolve and take things forward with new ideas, new, mindsets. So whether it is going out and seeing garbage on my road or a wall full of posters, I always want to do something creative where I can solve a problem. And I find lots of people in Bangalore today want to do that. So now I will quickly go through a PowerPoint that I have made, because I'm on my hobby horse. So I'm going to keep talking and never stop. And I don't want it to be like that. I want all of you all to come up with any little question or clarification that you might find at the end of my PPT, so that I can answer what you all want to know. Because creativity and what I'm talking about, creative thinking, is a very, very large subject, and we cannot even begin to scrape the surface. But if I quickly go through what I'm trying to communicate here, then y'all can come to me and ask me any of the doubts and clarifications. Now, Aniket, I'm hoping I'll be able to open my PPT.
Yes, madam. Just open it. Go to share.
Share file, okay.
Share the app, the PowerPoint app.
Okay. Yeah, I found it. But it doesn't seem to be opening. Your shared video file isn't visible. Why is that? Okay. It's
Can't
opening.
see it.
Sorry, it's opening.
Okay, it's opened.
So I'm hoping
Yes.
this won't become too academic and boring. I will try to go through it very quickly. So basically, I'm going back to the prehistoric times. So if you see, even during the Stone Age, you find rock paintings. We have some of the most beautiful examples in Madhya Pradesh of some very, very highly refined rock paintings. So art historians have actually studied this. Like when I was in college, okay, maybe not in college, when I was in school, I hated history because it was so boring. For me, it was all about some dates and people who had ceased to exist for me. But when I went to art college and we had a lot of history then, I suddenly found it very interesting, because every work of art that was worth mentioning had evolved from a social situation, from a cultural standpoint, from a political requirement, from human development. And that made history so interesting, so vivid, and so beautiful for me. So if you see in Indian art history also, you find, like, now you have Hampi. We all go and see Hampi, but actually that actually evolved out of a time of peace. There was peace and there was development and there was cultural evolution, because during the Vijayanagar Empire, that was possible. It was not just about business, and it was not just about conquering more kingdoms. So you see that in history also, that when there is peace and when there is a scope for cultural development, that particular dynasty or that particular humanity develops vastly, I mean, in unimaginable ways. So now I'm going through these PowerPoints. So basically, creativity and human development. Art and artistic expression has been studied by art historians. So that's basically what I already said. So as long as it was not about just survival, you found, and if there was creative expression and thinking, humans and dynasties have been known to show development when there was peace and food. And even in the Stone Age, you find apparently those wall paintings were done by a few artists. And apparently the rest of the tribe used to feed them, so that they, created this on the walls of the caves. And if you see today in a more contemporary situation also, you find that most top companies and organizations also train their employees. I used to be part of something called graphic facilitation and innovative workshops, where they want their people to think innovatively. So structured and organized thinking cannot achieve what creative and innovative thinking can do. Sorry, I'm not able to go to the next slide.
Just click on the screen, madam. Click on the screen and move the arrow button. Use the arrow button to move.
Can you click on them? Do you have the PPT?
I think I've made a slightly newer version to what I sent him. So
Just click
It
on the
doesn't
screen.
matter.
Just click on the screen, madam. Click on the screen. Use the right arrow button.
I'm going back to my PPT because in the afternoon, I didn't seem to have any problem. Shall I just close this and open it again, Aniket?
Yeah, yes, please.
It's not Aniket. If you have the older one, you can use that.
I'll just go back to. No, I seem to have lost it altogether.
Madam, just type in the search engine there. Do you see at the bottom on the left? Type here to search. Just type the name of the file.
I don't know why my.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes, it's come back.
It's come back. I'm not able to go to the next page for some reason.
Okay, maybe you can talk without the PPT then. Is that okay?
It's going to be a very long process then because I've made it very condensed in the PPT.
Try using
Aniket,
the
why
down
don't you
or
just open the one you have, Aniket?
Okay.
try the down or right arrow or page.
The entire page seems to be disappearing then.
Madam, do one thing. Move the cursor to the top of your screen. Stop share.
So I have share here.
Stop
Share
share.
content.
No. Just stop sharing now. For now.
Stop.
Now come back to the WebEx app.
Stop sharing. Okay. So are you sharing the one that is now I need?
No. Have you stopped your sharing?
Yeah, but I can still see the PPT. I said I put that stop share, but it's still showing for some reason.
Yes, that slide is still showing. I suggest that, Aniket, you take over the PPT part of it, the one that you have. There is another one which has come, art facilitation.
Viju, madam, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, I am. Is this the first slide?
So this is the first part.
This is the first slide. Okay. So actually, there was a whole process I wanted to go through as to what is the difference between creative thinking and creativity. Because there is a lot of misnomer that creativity is something about making a beautiful painting, which is not wrong. It is about beautification. But there is a lot more to it because it's about thinking creatively. So like Steve Jobs says, it's about joining the dots. But to join the dots in the first place, we need to have some ideas, some thoughts, some vision. So as a creative person, it is our duty to collect this information. It can be through research, it can be through the art process, it can be through just taking pictures of something that we find fascinating. It can be through, going to art exhibitions, and it can be through doing a lot of creative initiatives, which are like dance, music, listening to music. Apparently, sound is the fulcrum of how the world goes around because a sound can reverberate so many things. So, sensitivity to all this can make a person collect information to start a creative mindset. And how to do this creatively again is about we always think, like, especially today we have this whole onslaught of digitalization. Everything is, it's just there, it's all ready, it's on the computer, it's available on Swiggy, anything you want, and it's immediately available. Whereas that is not how initially our culture was. It was about finding or doing a riyaz or practicing something so many times till you came to a certain perfection, or to a close to perfection, or you were able to actually evolve a certain style, so that in the process the individual or the artist or the person who is creating the art actually became one with the art. Whereas now with digitalization, we lose that, because on a computer, you have so many softwares, you have children who are on the computer or on the phones getting all sorts of images which are already perfect to them. So they feel either that fear of failure, and you find adults who are like, oh my gosh, I can't spend that much of time to get into something, to learn it to that extent, so then what's the point? So you are always waiting for something ready-made. So this whole point of creative thinking or creativity is to actually practice, to keep doing something, and some sort of physical movement. Don't expect it to come out of a textbook. It's not about academic perfection. It's about doing something repeatedly, finding something more every time you do it, and then evolving to a certain stage of actually knowing how little you know, so that you learn some more. But because we use a tool called visualization and imagination, in creativity, we are not copying. And this I have found out in my life's experience of not just teaching for, I think, around 20 years, but also from the time my children were born, or rather even before they were born, I got interested in human development. And after they were born, they were actually my guinea pigs, because I used to take creative classes for children at a point when I couldn't leave the house. And I realized that these children evolved so beautifully. Parents came to me saying, this child, my daughter or my son is going to get thrown out of school because they're hyperactive. But within 3 months of just doing what ideas generated out of their mind, you finally found the child calming down, becoming assertive, becoming very clear about what they wanted, and actually achieving it. Now, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So we are not talking about creating a Rembrandt or a Da Vinci. I won't say Van Gogh, because Van Gogh anyway did only what his soul made him do. And that's why he didn't sell a single painting in his lifetime, because he was so convinced about what he was doing and he just kept doing it, which is what we're talking about. But everybody doesn't want to become an artist. I'm not talking about people who want to become great artists. Those people will anyway find their path. I'm talking about the average person who can think for themselves, execute something that is originally coming out of their mind, and actually achieving something which they feel satisfaction because it came out of their mind. Each of us are actually walking encyclopedias from the time we are born. From the first time our mothers or fathers shut and open their eyes, we get so excited. Babies laugh when you blink at them. Because just that change of colors, that black and white change of color gets them so excited. Because it's about a variation. It's not the same thing they're seeing every day. A fan rotating can fascinate a baby for hours. So as we grow, we need to see movement, we need to see change, and we need to be the ones who are playing the orchestras in our brain. Sadly, in the academics capacity of things, it's always about getting something out of a textbook, and the person who can by heart it and then answer the questions in the exam gets the credit in the class. Luckily for me, my teacher wasn't like that. She felt that coming first in class or being able to make a beautiful poster had the same importance. So I was saved. But a lot of children don't have that luck. Why you didn't get marks? Okay, stop your dance class. You don't have time for all this. I have a daughter who used to get into her makeup. Her Bharatanatyam program would be in about 2 hours. So they have to do their makeup much earlier. And she would be sitting and studying for her Hindi exam, which she hated Hindi. And she'd get 80 marks the next day, sitting with full costume. Because her excitement was that she would perform on the stage, do her craft. The thrill of having to do that, all the studies went in very quickly. So if I was mad at her, all I had to say is, yeah, I'm going to stop your dance class. And that was like, quickly she'd do whatever she had to do. So basically, even the people who are in maybe academic fields or in the scientific line, you need to start thinking from your mind to generate your ideas. It can be just journaling. It can be just keeping a journal and adding pictures to it. It can be just adding pictures of something that fascinates. For me as a kid, it used to be Amar Chitra Katha. I used to draw from Amar Chitra Katha, all those characters. I found Indian mythology very fascinating. I think I know all the stories by heart. And we had Amar Chitra Katha. We had no internet and TV those days. So, studying the human expression, body language, what was the story? It wasn't about 2 people or 10 people. There was so much more. There was, you could smell the forest, you could hear the birds, all of that through a comic book. So the same way, if people, children, individuals start thinking from their imagination, from visualizing what their imagination is telling them, one is you will access all of that information you have stored in your hard disk, which is basically why I call all humans encyclopedias. Our memories are actually our reservoirs of information. And when we talk about our conscious and subconscious, which of course is another discussion, subconscious actually has a lot of information which is not able to come out. That's where you find children having a lot of problems, because that gets suppressed. Adults, sometimes I feel it's too late, but then there is hope for them also. But to be able to come out with those memories in a creative way, it comes out in art. It can come out in dance, it can come out in music, it can come out in storytelling. Storytelling is a wonderful way. All of us need to be heard. All of us need to express our unique ideas and memories and thoughts, and we need somebody to hear it or see it or listen to it. And that part is what I do through my art facilitation. I have seen grown men cry. And that's not just a song for me. People who have never touched a brush. I did an art workshop with a lady who was at least 70 years. She said she never held a pen or a pencil to draw. She's from the slums in Gujarat. So this is what I want to talk about more today, the creativity and the creative thinking. I have a lot more slides. Let's hope I can access it later, but we'll just go through this quickly. So art facilitation. Art is used as a tool. So here, art is like dance or music or aroma. It is to trigger a certain expression from the individual and to allow them, give them a chance to express their own unique ideas. So drawing, painting, craft, clay modeling, nature walks. Nature is also a very, very creative platform, or I would say, it's a vista where, we can go and really explore our true nature. Are tools used to facilitate the process of learning. And this learning brings out teamwork, brainstorming, and respect for common spaces and for environment. This is a pet project of mine because I really can't understand why we can't do things in a unified way to beautify our country. Can I have the next slide? So these are the skills which in my experience have actually seen parents have been shocked. I had one gentleman come to me and tell me his daughter was my daughter. She was, I think at that time, 8 years old. He just couldn't understand how such a quiet child who was so nervous to open her mouth suddenly was teaching art to her entire family. Assertiveness, creativity, observation, cooperation. You find people just change when they are exposed to creative activities. They want to work together. Another thing is children who find it difficult to follow out instructions, which is also needed to get this world going. Everyone can't just do their own thing. So following instructions. But again, when they know it is to express something which is their own uniqueness, they are willing to do that. Helpfulness, perseverance, inquiring mind. This is actually, I had a slide about this, to become inquisitive, to want to know more, to find out more. Because when it's your own idea or you are trying to bring out from your own hard disk, your memories, your imagination, you obviously want to know more. You're willing to research more. You're willing to spend more time getting references. So even students, you find when they have to do a project and they're doing it from an original standpoint and not just doing what the teacher said, you find them spending a lot more time on it. Originality. This is so important. I think each of us crave to stand out, because the world is such a large place and it's just full of so many things. And now you have media and you have digitalization, and now of course you have COVID, so we can't even meet in person most of the time. So this originality, it's all there in us, but how do we express it? Leadership. You'll find the quietest child in the group, or a button pusher, like I say, these computer geeks, one of them who's never most probably put his phone down will suddenly be there mucking around in that paint, having such a blast and leading the team. Assertiveness and willingness to try. So this fear of failure does not come to the fore, because there is no end result in art or creativity. You're not going with a given agenda and you're not following a set plan. You're trying to create something, and the process is so beautiful that the end result will be something beautiful, but it is not giving you that fear that, oh my God, am I going to be the next Rembrandt or the next M.F. Hussain? Can I have the next slide? I think I better go quickly if we have to have a question round. How much time do I have, Aniket? So this is for y'all. I just want y'all to look at this image. And each of y'all can either share it in your chat, or you can just tell me what you see in this image. You can just unmute and tell me.
Environment.
Environment. Okay. A little more than environment.
Nature.
Nature. Fantastic. But what in nature are you seeing? What does that look like?
A temple.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in Lal Bagh, one of the
Sunrise. Lal Bagh. Who said Lal Bagh?
I said it's one of the
hill.
One of the rocks at Kempi Gowda.
Yes. Who said that?
I did.
Okay, I can't see you because I'm not able to see everyone. Okay, so oh, my St. Patrick's boys are here. Hi.
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah. So who said betta? Can you say your name? Hill. Who said it's a Lalbagh? Tell your name.
Suhas, ma'am.
Suhas. Very good, Suhas. Awesome.
Sunita. Sunita said lal.
Sunita also said Lalbagh. Okay. So, and somebody said evening.
Thomas.
Somebody said temple.
Sujay.
Yeah. So, what is it that it makes you feel when you look at that? Now, this is a tough question.
We can see from the architecture.
What do you feel? See, again, logic is coming. This is the problem when we try to visualize.
It's
We must
isolation. Isolation.
isolation. Isolation. Yes, I relate with that completely. Any other feelings coming on this image?
From there we can see mountains, buildings, ma'am.
Yes, but what do you feel when you see this?
Calmness.
Sense of
Calmness.
peace
We
and
can see
quiet
Peace.
and quiet. I mean, it
is going
seems
to add.
so
Happiness.
so happy.
Happiness. Absolutely. So imagination, visualization comes from a feeling. Now, when you see this picture, next picture, can I have the next picture? Oh. So this actually you can see is a little more abstract. It's not a photograph. It's not a clear photograph like the earlier one. So over here, what do you feel when you see? Do you have a feeling when you see this?
We can see our face in the water.
You can see reflections. Yes. You can explore that. You can explore reflections. There's so much to the imagination. Anything else?
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece. Okay. Who said that?
Sorry for the situation.
Tranquility.
Tranquility. Yes. So when we say words that give a certain meaning to our emotions, actually our imagination is triggered more. You'll start remembering in each of your experiences, maybe in your village, maybe in a holiday that you went for, you would have seen similar scenes.
Madam, can you please unmute yourself?
You're muted. Yeah.
Just click on it.
We can't hear
At the
you.
bottom of it.
We can't
The
hear
bottom of
you.
it.
Yeah, now is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you didn't hear the last part what I said?
Oh,
So
we didn't hear that.
So basically, when you see an image which is a little more abstract, like the earlier one was a photograph, so it was very defined and it didn't give you much scope for imagination because the photographer is presenting you an image which is already there. So you said Lal Bagh, you said it was certain emotions, but it was really, now this is a slightly more abstract image. So if you feel like you are seeing reflections in this, your imagination actually kicks in and it actually supplies you many other images you've seen where that you have seen reflections. It could take you into your childhood. It can take you into some movie that you saw. It can be a song that you heard. So this is a process that I put my students through, telling them to use their imagination and come up with their own imagination, in the sense this imagination is just another word for your memories. It actually recreates your memories and brings it out as information which you can use in whatever you're doing right then. And it makes whatever you're doing very interesting because it's all coming out of your own mind. Can I have the next image? Next slide. So visualization and imagination. There's no content in this. Yeah. Just that image is fine. Yeah. So this is again a question for you all. What do you feel when you see this?
Right. Deepavali festival.
We'll get a light of. We'll get too much light.
Hope.
Too much?
Light.
Lot of light, yes.
I think there's a sense of hope. A lot of hope.
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 Yeah.
Warm.
Light, yes.
Warm.
Hope.
Something very warm.
Piety.
It is light.
Piety or
Being
Together.
in Hardwar,
It's a candle, I know, but what is this particular candle in the way it
We'll
is
give the
kept?
light all over the world, ma'am.
Light all over the world. How beautiful. Okay.
and piety. It shows
Piety.
piety
Yes,
also.
I was looking for that. A very spiritual light, no?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not just any light in Diwali. It's got a very spiritual look, and actually you can't see anything. So this is the next topic that I want to bring up, which is about color and texture. There is something which is called color psychology. And this particular color psychology is something we grew up with. In fact, on this earth today, human beings are there because of color psychology. When we were all nomads and we are walking. Just imagine thousands of years ago, how did we survive a storm? Our forefathers could see the sky. They will see the color of the sky and they will run for shelter because they know storm is coming. Today we have to listen to news channel. If no news channel, then we'll all drown and die. We survived with our sense of color, our understanding of color, smell and texture. So today also we actually are very sensitive to that, but we don't use it much because we are getting everything packaged and ready for us to use. Swiggy will come. We know we ordered biryani from this particular Johnson Market place. So it will come, we eat it. We don't even taste it because we already know what it's going to taste like. So color and texture is something which has helped us to survive thousands of years. And it's something that actually gives our brains a lot of joy. Now, when you see this photo, you can almost feel the texture of the wood under your fingers even without touching it. Can you feel that roughness? Your mind is showing you what it feels like to touch rough wood. But it looks nice. It looks very spiritual. So our eyes are telling us, see, this is something that is a nice place. It's got something very peaceful, very calming about it. So our brain is giving us one after the other some kind of information which is stored there. And we are not getting it from a textbook. We are not getting it from internet and it's not coming from a phone. So this is how our mind uses color and texture. And who are the other people that use color psychology? Advertisers, advertising agencies, filmmakers. When you see one scene and you say, Arey, wow, this looks so good. This guy is looking so handsome. Why? Because all the colors on that particular set will be to make the hero look more handsome. He'll be wearing red. Everything else will be black. So this whole concept of color and texture is something that we become very sensitized when we use art. Do anything creative. It can be something with paper mache, it can be with twigs. We can walk into nature. I have seen groups of children go into nature and completely change. They will come with the phones and digital thing and they are all like, okay, when is lunch? When are we getting juice? After some time, they don't want lunch. They are so engrossed in nature that they don't want to even think of their basic needs because they're so caught up in this feeling of color and texture. Can I have the next slide? So color theory shows that human behavior can be influenced. So we are being influenced every day to take certain choices from advertisements, what clothes to wear, which car to buy based on color, which is being forced on us by media, but we need to start thinking about it from our own experiences. Sometimes you won't like a particular color. You won't know why. Everybody else will say it's a nice color, but you won't like it because you might have a bad memory attached to that particular color. So that is a very personal experience. But mostly, if you say yellow, it has a certain meaning. White has a feeling of spirituality or purity. So like that, color theory is something that you need to really observe and see how you understand it. Color influences perceptions that are not obvious. Color can be indeed an influence, can indeed influence a person. However, it is important to remember that these effects differ from person to person. Factors such as gender, age, color, culture, and influence how an individual perceives color. Color psychology is widely used by for commercial purposes. Next slide. So why is it that we have lost out a lot of what we were naturally born with? Like a certain artist said that all of us are born artists, but in the process of living and growing up, we are not artists anymore. Because there is a certain bias about this so-called logic. Once there were exams and once things had to be done according to a preconceived or preset way of doing it, then it became a race to see who learned that fixed amount of information. That information is already there. It's not anything new. A textbook or a particular software, there is nothing new in that software. There is a software that's called there is a software called Maya, which is used in website design and in animation. And do you know that software is actually designed so that even a chimpanzee can use it? Chimpanzees are rather intelligent. But finally, if you want to make a mark on this field of animation, you must have an idea which can be executed using a software which is only a tool. So everything that you use, whether it's a pencil or a computer software, it's only a tool. The idea has to be generated from the individual. And that process of how to use your mind becomes a problem when each one is only learning what is put in front of them or trying to reach an end goal which is preset. And it's always the creative minds that actually make the innovations. They are the ones who actually make the new paths. Like now we have Swachh Bharat. We want to clean our country, but we need ideas. We have the end goal, but how are we going to reach there? We need creative ideas on how to actually achieve that. So this whole competition is there between logic and creativity. And if you use art or the whole concept of creative thinking can help you combine both of this, the logic and the creativity, because that will be how you can work smart and not just work hard. Next slide. That's it. I mean, that's the last slide.
1 minute.
So, like I said, I have many gurus. So, another guru of mine is called Edward de Bono. You can Google him. He is the father of the concept of lateral thinking. He actually invented the word. He says that all of us have a pattern of thinking and that we choose. It's not like it's imposed on us. From birth, we are given a certain kind of training to think in a certain way. So we start thinking and we continue thinking in that way. So if we want to come out of that, we need to provocate our minds. We need to push ourselves, think differently. That's why this whole term of lateral thinking and thinking out of the box came. And to combine the right brain and the left brain. So I always talk about a book called The Six Thinking Hats. It's a very interesting one. In fact, I could do an entire session on just that. It's saying that each of us is like a house and you can't decide how a house looks by just looking at it from the front or from the side or from the top. That's not giving you the full idea of what the house looks like. So most of us find ourselves looking at the house from one side and then deciding that's how the house is. So 6 thinking caps is actually combining this left brain and right brain. It's got all the aspects, the creative aspect, the aspect of being able to judge, which we are very predominantly developed in our psyche because our culture is very judgmental. Everything is about, like, from the time we were kid and we put nice clothes, don't play in the mud, you'll dirty your dress. So then later it was like, don't play with paint at all because it's messy. So this whole judge aspect is there in our minds a lot. So actually we curtail our own imagination and our own creative ideas coming out because we're immediately, what's the use? I can't do anything with it. What is the use? So that's where these creative workshops help. And of course, now we have emotional quotient, which is being used a lot. And now we've evolved to spiritual quotient also, which are all various aspects of our psyche which need to be utilized. And this judge and this logic needs to be there, but only in the selection process and not in the ideating and creative process. And of course, imagination and visualization we've spoken about. Next slide. So if you can see this particular image, it makes me smile even now. This was in a social institute in Gujarat. These children have all come from one bunch of them, I think about 60 of them came from a slum close by. Some of them have come from almost 60 kilometers away, 60 or 50 kilometers away. They had a bus, of course, and they came. And I know that they didn't come with an idea of actually doing any art. But when they realized that they were actually going to be executing their own ideas, and I think it was some nature related topic. I did this last year. So I think the topic was something about, yes, it was about saving the earth. So each of these students, all ages, there were 18-year-olds. There was one lady, the one I mentioned, who has never put pen to paper or pencil to paper in her life to draw. She must have been at least 65 or 70. They look a little older, so I couldn't tell her exact age. But she was so proudly displaying her drawing. And they were so happy because they actually executed their own unique ideas in the way they wanted to. Next slide. This is the idea again, which I wanted to talk about a little more, but the slides were not opening. So this is about, again, going into the micro and the macro. So in creativity, that's another thing. So a lot of the time I find people asking me like, yes, I want to do something creative, but what should I draw? What should I paint? I'm not getting any ideas. So this whole concept of idea can come from problem solving. So if you're having something that you find is life is not interesting in general, or you're finding you want to do something which is more interesting in a creative way, always look for the smallest problem around you and find a creative solution for it. So your mind actually is kind of triggered into thinking. It will supply solutions to you, which may not all be feasible, may not all work. But in this particular workshop, it was Environment Day, and the theme we worked around was pollution. So there were 90 adults. They were middle segment and senior management from one corporate, and there were school children. So 90 of them were made into teams, and each of them was given one alphabet of the word pollution and told to think of creative ways of stopping pollution. And they were given those huge banners. Actually, what you're seeing at the back are actually 6 feet by 3 feet banners. And each of them came up with such amazing ideas, and put together, it came out with the word pollution. So stop pollution. And the takeaway was that sheer satisfaction that they came up with solutions. We don't know when, we don't know how. Some of them are children, some of them are adults, but I'm sure next time they're going to take a decision, even if it's just to throw away a plastic packet or to buy something that is maybe, going against environmental laws, I think they will think twice after doing this workshop. Next slide. So this was a similar workshop. I think I'll hurry through this because I want you all to start asking questions. Next slide. So I feel presentation is also very important, being able to tell your story. So most of the workshops, we actually have each of the groups come up and present their ideas, talk about why they did that, the process, and how they felt at the end of it. This is their story, and this is what really is their takeaway. And of course, the photographs that they take with their work. This was also a workshop where this company did not allow music or dancing. It's a corporate workshop, but they wanted an art workshop. And actually, finally, there were teams from all over India, and from Calcutta to Kerala, Bombay, Kashmir, and each of them was so proud of their paintings. There were teams, of course, each of the teams that came from each of these cities, they worked together, and they actually auctioned the painting to the rest of the company, and that feeling of ownership. So this is your idea generated from your imagination. You visualize something, you execute it. I was part of the process of how to use materials or the tool of art and paint so that they could execute their ideas to the best of the time we had. And at the end of it, that sense of ownership, because they might be having big jobs and doing something that makes them feel important and their bank balances are good, but they don't really do what is coming out of their own visualization or their own minds. So this was such a liberating experience for them. So I wanted you all to see this. There's one more, but then I don't have time to talk about it. Next one. Another way of allowing your mind to question is going for art exhibitions. I find a lot of people talking that, art exhibitions are not for me, or that kind of work I don't understand, or this is too abstract. I mean, even my daughter can do this kind of paintings. See, this whole idea is to allow your mind to be inquisitive. There's a whole process where you can become an art appreciator. Everyone can't sing or dance, but we can definitely appreciate a good troupe dancing or a good orchestra playing. And that gives our soul so much of satisfaction. It makes us feel so much lighter when we come out of the theater. So the same way an art gallery is there. Artists are just dying to talk about their work. You can ask the artist what was his idea, her idea. And it actually opens your mind to relate. I want to tell you an example of my exhibition. I hope I have time. So I did not paint for 15 years because I had small children and I was into this so-called rat race, trying to do design and earn money and all that. So 15 years later, I decided I'm going to have my show. And it took me 1 year to do one painting because, like I told you, my brain, I was not allowing it to give me what I needed to do a good painting. And I was already an art facilitator and I was a faculty member. So I couldn't fool myself and say, oh, I spent 3 hours or 10 hours doing this, so it's a beautiful painting. So the end result was that 1 year, one painting, and in another 1 year, I did the rest of the paintings. And it was like I did art therapy for myself. I had people stand and talk to me the whole day about their life experiences from what they saw in my painting. I made friends from all over the world. People just came and they related to it. I think that is where, when we really open our minds, people actually reciprocate, or they kind of, they echo that. So any of you all want to paint, it's never too late to start. So this was about nature, what I said, nature installation, using things from nature and actually articulating or allowing your mind to express itself. This was a troupe of children from Pala in Kerala. They are all learning to become IAS officers, and they start the course in the 5th standard. So I had children from the 5th standard to the 12th standard. And once we were done with the nature walk, they actually had so many suggestions. And this is in a place called Vagaman, which is very beautiful. And the bane of the problem is that it has been open to tourism, and it's getting saturated with plastic. So these children who live very close by, they live in Pala, close to Vagaman, they had so many suggestions just by being in touch with nature and making some nature installations. Next slide. Another way of creating is from upcycling, from garbage. So this was in a school. Again, outdoor facilitation. What's the next slide? I can't remember. So things you can do to trigger the use of both sides of your brain. So finally, I would like to put it out there that creativity is not to stop being logical or to be, you're a creative person, so okay, I can't tally my bank balance. It means that both sides of your brain has to work. And these are a few tips that can really help you connect with yourself. And the expression can be through paint, it can be through drawing, it can be through journaling, it can be through collage. In fact, a very famous artist now has started after the lockdown to do collage. S.G. Vasudev, if you heard of him, he's come up with this whole collage collection. It's at Sumukha. So how you express yourself is not important. It is that you allow your voice to speak and let your imagination to flow and allow yourself that satisfaction. Yes, I did something which was mine, and own it. So allow yourself one creative exercise every day. Keep an open mind. Visit art galleries. Please do. Artists are dying during COVID. So please do see online exhibitions. Call up the artists, speak to them. Record your experiences with photographs and writings. This I do a lot when I'm not able to actually paint, and it really gives me a lot of satisfaction. Or keep a journal. Read regularly fiction, poetry, watch movies of different languages. If you're a Malayali, watch, I don't know, Bengali movies. Bengali movies are fantastic. Look and observe, don't just see. So this was another slide that I made and that got stuck in my computer. So the most important thing in this creative process is to become an observer. Because all of us are in this process of proving ourselves right or proving somebody wrong, because that's the way to get ahead in the rat race. I've been there, done that. I know what it feels like. But at some point, we need to become observers. And actually, I'm sure if there are people who have been top management people, you'll realize that you reach there because you are willing to observe and listen. So, and the last one, think positively. There is a book by Edward de Bono that's called H+. I think it's brilliant. If you get a chance, you just read that. That is the whole trigger to creativity. Thank you. I'm not going to speak anymore. I'm going to open this for discussion. And please ask me any doubts, clarifications, any questions.
Thank you so much, Biju. That was really very, very interesting. And we'll now open it up for questions. Anyone wants to ask a question? Kindly unmute yourself. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm Janaki Rao. I have 3 clarifications. One is how to do one creative exercise every day. Can you explain a bit more? That is one. Okay. Second is how to improve creativity. What should we do differently in nature walk? 2.
In a nature walk. In your nature walk.
Nature walk.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, wonderful question.
Okay. So then the third one is, a lot of emphasis is given in spirituality on silence, Mauna Vrata. How is it? Is it linked to creativity and improvement of creativity?
Okay, so I will start.
Shall I repeat them or it's clear?
No, it's very clear. So your first question is, what is that one exercise you can do to give yourself a creative opportunity every day? Yes. So so basically now actually because of this lockdown and because none of us are going out, there are a lot of YouTubes. People doing creative things and they're wanting people to see what they're doing, and it's all on YouTube. So whether it is about just sketching, it could be just pencil sketching, It could be, you want to try out something in watercolors. There are a lot of YouTube videos that you can just initiate, and sometimes it's really nice to watch also. It kind of really inspiring. And it can also be something as simple as, all our phones have very good cameras. So, you could just become a photographer of things around you. Look at it from a different perspective. Don't look at it the same way that you've been looking at it till now. What was your second question?
Please mute yourself, the others.
We are leaving.
The question is nature walk. How
Okay,
to
my
make it more
boys are
creative.
leaving. Okay, bye. You're going for dinner. I'll speak to you all on Sunday. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Bye. So nice of you all to come. Thank you, Brother Praveen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I'll see you all on Sunday. So your second question, sir?
About
Your
nature
walk,
walk.
nature walk, yes.
How
So
to make it more creative.
yes.
To develop
So,
creativity.
so basically in creativity, I told you about color and texture. And one important thing that I forgot about is light. So basically, when you look at something, we always look at the positive space. So basically, if I'm seeing a bird on a branch, I'm looking at the bird. But if you want to look at it creatively, you'll start looking at the branches. You look at the new shoots. I want to give you a small example. I studied in Clarence High School. My principal was an Australian, Mr. Flack. He would come to the assembly in the morning and tell us, today one particular tree has bloomed for the first time. Can anyone tell me which is that tree? And the person who gives the correct one will get something from him, some small gift. My trigger to looking at everything around me creatively started in school because of Mr. Flack. So it's just to, surprise yourself, or like I said, Edward de Bono said, to provocate your mind. Just try to find out a little more. And that inquisitiveness is what's going to lead you. Otherwise, we have nature walks. There's a friend of mine, I don't know if Deepa is here, Deepa Mohan. She takes us into the forest and we do such amazing bird watching. So you're welcome to join me anytime. And the last one about spirituality that's very interesting. This spiritual, when we talk about EQ and then we talk about SQ, actually, when you talk about visualization, we say think positive. What is think positive? Sometimes in India, it is so difficult to think positive. It's about keeping, like meditation, the way you keep your mind empty and just concentrate on your breathing. The same way you visualize something good and you keep it there. It can be from your memory, it can be from your imagination, it could be on a piece of paper, a small scenery that you're drawing. That is for me the beginning of spirituality in real, where we implement what we believe in with an image. It can be in your mind, it can be on a paper, it can be on canvas, it can be on a wall. But that is the beginning of it. So you can call me idealistic or you can call me spiritual, but I believe it's all about an image. You keep it in your mind and it will happen. It has to. I hope I answered your question, sir. Hello?
There's someone who wants to contact you and wants to know how to contact you. That's on the chat with you.
Shall I just put my number there?
I think so. Okay, are there any other questions?
I got the answer. Thank you so much. And if you can tell something about the silence, how does it contribute to improving creativity?
Yes, so basically when we have to listen to ourselves, we need to be silent within. So that is also what I would call a part of creativity. You find artists are normally very introverted people. I remember even now my mother telling me I would rather have a book, or she'll say, oh, Biju will be painting in some corner somewhere. When you're born an artist, you are lucky. That way your natural nature is to find that, quiet time, to find that space and keep yourself away from a lot of things. But if you are a budding artist and you want to give yourself those creative spaces or creative outlets, you need to start training yourself to give yourself that quiet time. It can be in nature, it can be with your sketchbook, it can be with your journal, it can be on your laptop also. Maybe you're writing something. And to give yourself that silence, inner silence and outer silence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Very nice questions.
Kindly mute yourselves because there's too much of noise. Or any other questions from anyone?
I have a question, sir.
Disturbance. Yes, go ahead, Ramesh.
Good evening, Ms. Biju. That was very interesting, whatever you have done. I'm a designer also by profession. Hi. I'm just curious to know, since you've spoken about the remarkable transformation in children in just 3 months through your art workshop, this could be a remarkable way in which education could be transformed, because it introduces spirituality through art, which means that the teachers themselves have to have that consciousness. So have you been approached by any of these alternative education school systems or schools to include your way or your approach into their curriculum?
So that is how I started doing workshops. I call myself the art Uber. I go wherever is needed and I facilitate like an Uber but with art. And I will use their garbage and make it into art, or I will transform their ideas into art, whatever. So basically I facilitate the process. I lay the path for them to kind of execute their ideas. So yes, I would love to hear from more people actually. I mean, now with the COVID situation, I have not got too savvy, as you can see, with this digital media. So I have limitations there. So otherwise, I would love to do a lot more of it because I feel children are the future. There's a Dr. Ali Khwaja, who's another guru of mine. Luckily, he's very much alive. So he also says that, we are training the future citizens who are going to lead this country tomorrow.
Yes.
And whether it's
future
my
leaders.
kid or the kid who's on the street or those lovely boys from St. Patrick's, they live in the boys' home there. I feel they are going to lead the country. We are finished. We are over. Whatever we are done, we can do so much only, no? So we need to guide them. We need to hone their skills to think. Basically, that's something that comes easily with creativity. And then it gives them the confidence to use that original thinking in the other walks of life also. This is my personal experience.
Right.
Kindly mute. There's a sound coming from someone's device. Thank you, Viju. Any other questions?
Could I ask a question, Choi?
Yes, please do.
Go
Hi,
ahead.
Choi.
Yes, good evening. I like very much your presentation, and
Thank
I
you.
think it's very insightful. In
Thank
fact,
you.
I liked it very much when you said that creative thinking is more than just beauty and what you see, which makes me think uh, art should be experiential. It's something. Now I work with a lot of handicapped people and they cannot see. So I like it when you said that there's color and there's texture.
Yes.
So that with that sense of touch, anything that is tactile can be
Yes.
also a way to appreciate art. And so I don't know how you can combine. I have two questions. How can we help handicapped people experience beauty if like they lack certain facilities, maybe sight, maybe hearing, but especially now with the pandemic, at one point you will imagine that really so many people are suffering. How can art through us who are creatives also, or because now you've talked about how we can all try to discover one thing a day that you can do to enrich your creativity. And then I would like that this has a deeper application in relationships. So like can you tell me what relationship you see there is between the human suffering and art?
So I think that's two questions, like you said. So the first one is, the people who have visual handicap, actually, they have a lot of development in their other senses. Their hearing is very good, and their sense of touch. So, it would be wonderful to actually learn from them. If you can give them different textured surfaces, it could be even sand. It could be just sand you give them, and glue and maybe cardboard, and, let them play with that and create forms. And, it's not about the color. They can play with layers, and they can play with the, textures. They could do so much. And it would be also for them very de-stressing, because as it is, their fingertips are so sensitized, they would actually work with it so much better. And maybe we could learn from them, and yeah, I mean, that really has got me thinking now, and I can come up with a lot of more suggestions, and we will be in touch, right? So the other one, what you said on a personal level, I feel, in fact, I think you meant personal relationships and creativity. I felt, in some of my workshops, when the families sat together and worked. In fact, I see Francois here. I have done some work at Vistar, Bhumi Habba, and they used to be one family that used to come every year to participate in my workshop, because that they said that's the only time they would all sit quietly, and there was such a connect in the family because they were doing something creative. And actually, I really miss all of that now. But I feel doing something which it's also used a lot in art therapy and marriage counseling. So it really helps to bring out the truth. And it also brings a platform for the family to connect without discord and without all the past history. It's like I said, there's no fear of failure. There's no questioning as to what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And actually, it helps them to work towards unity. It could be a process, or it could be just a one-time thing. I would love to work with families. It really is a fantastic platform and an expression of what the family is really doing together. And it doesn't always have to be pretty. It can be just an expression. You find, like you say, teenagers love this heavy metal and stuff like that. It's not because they're all going to go into some demonic state. It's just that that's how they express their unresolved issues, because they are actually not independent human beings yet. So that kind of heavy metal actually helps them to express a lot of their feelings. And once it's out there, then everyone knows what's happening. So that's a very beautiful way of resolving things. Thank you. Wonderful question.
Yes, thank you so much. So profound. Makes me think a lot too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I must tell you, Biju, that when you spoke about Edward de Bono, I attended a workshop of his when he came to Bangalore at the Taj.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got 6 thinking hats autographed. It's signed by him when I bought it.
I have to look at it. Oh my
You
gosh, so
must
lucky.
come over and see it.
Yes,
because
I
when he
would
spoke
love
about
to.
Edward de Bono, I did this workshop with him. All
My
right.
guru,
Any other
yes.
questions? If there are no questions, then thank you so much. I will request Malti to kindly propose a vote of thanks. It's over to you, Malti.
Right. I must say, I have to say a big thank you, actually. Just not a small thank you, a big thank you to you, Biju. It's wonderful session, wonderful session. And I, along with the rest of all the participants, have found it very, very interesting, very engrossing also. You are a multifaceted person, and every facet seems to shine forth like a well-polished diamond.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry now.
Oh, please, that wasn't my intention at all. But I just wanted to also
I don't know,
say,
but thank you.
welcome, and it was very proud moment for all of us to just hear you. And your flow of talk was so smooth, and so your ideas came forth so well. They were so well put out that I think everyone was just wrapped in this session.
Thank you.
On behalf of the School of Ancient Wisdom, all the organizers, and everyone who's been listening in today, we give you our hearty congratulations for this lovely talk, and thank you once again. We just hope that you will be able to conduct a full day workshop at our campus once this COVID scenario improves. We're looking forward to that, actually.
Certainly,
And
I would love to do that.
that's wonderful.